it was a very public announcement where President Trump said, hey, in 60 days, we want a negotiated agreement with the Iranians on the nuclear program. And that was, probably middle of March, I'm guessing maybe late March. But when I heard that immediately in my head, I said, okay, we've got 60 days. He just drew a red line for the Iranians on their nuclear program. We know that we would be a military option at the expiration of that 60 days, or even prior if something unusual happened, right, with ongoing combat ops between Iran and Israel. And I say combat ops, Israel was absorbing shots during that time period from numerous places. But Operation Rising Lion obviously started about 12 days prior to the bombing itself. So that 60 days matters to me as the enterprise leader and the command and control of the bomber people, because it is more expansive than a single mission. And so we're building readiness to be ready to do numerous options that would support potentially a campaign, right? This was a strategic attack, but we look at all the time, okay, what is the next thing that has to happen, or might we be asked to do? And so we plan very diligently every day around the world, frankly, for various things and various contingencies. Coordinating the tanker thing, frankly, that's the piece that I always am very focused on any large global movements, because it's kind of what makes strategic attack possible, and it is really what makes us arguably a superpower, right? Because even, for example, Russia's bomber forces, Chinese bomber forces, they're trying to evolve past this, but I would call those regional forces, not global forces. And so that's the difference. We didn't know that about 30 hours after the attack there was going to be a ceasefire. But I think clearly the Iranians saw that and saw what the path forward for them had changed dramatically. But I think it's also important for the public to understand that all of our adversaries watched that, and they will make different choices as a result of that. We understand that, and so we just have to be ready and have the contingency planning and the force structure and the professionalism and discipline and the culture of a bomber enterprise, in my case, to be able to respond in a way that reestablishes deterrence. I think one of the cool things I think about a little bit is, there's about 6 weeks difference, roughly, maybe 7, I don't know, between the 80th anniversary of the 509th, actually at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in probably the first real example of what would be a strategic attack that changed the course of not just the war, but of history. And nuclear attacks had not happened since then. But at the same time, a strategic attack to reestablish deterrence against a very, I don't know, I don't want to say aggressive. Clearly, the Iranians have been working towards a nuclear program for a long time. Everybody knew it. Nobody wants it. Nobody thinks that regime with nuclear weapons is a stabilizing force in the world.
The U.S. on Wednesday once again took aim at Iran and targeted its axis of resistance by designating 4 Iraq-based militias as foreign terrorist organizations. According to the State Department, the groups identified were Harakat al-Nujaba, Kata'ib Sayyid al-Shuhada, Harakat Ansar Allah al-Awfiya, and Kata'ib al-Imam Ali, all 4 of which were previously designated by the Department of Treasury as specially designated global terrorists, SDGT, in 2023. Iran-aligned militia groups have conducted attacks on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and bases hosting U.S. and coalition forces, typically using front names or proxy groups to obfuscate their involvement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in the statement. According to the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, FDD, the 4 groups are all backed by Iran and form the core of an umbrella organization known as the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, IRI, which gained prominence following the Hamas-led October 7, 2023, attack on Israel. The IRI is believed to be responsible for hundreds of attacks in Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, and was behind the killing of 3 U.S. service members during a drone attack in January 2024 in Jordan. The Trump administration broke the taboo during Term 1 when it proved it could name, shame, and punish Iran-backed militias in Iraq without the country devolving into civil war. Behnam Ben Taleblu, Iranian expert and senior director of the FDD's Iran program, told Fox News Digital. Now in Term 2, the administration is upping the ante, continuing a campaign of designations against the agents of influence and terror of Iran in Iraq. The 4 terrorist groups also operate within the Popular Mobilization Forces, which is a coalition force of largely Shia groups that was formed to counter ISIS by the Iraqi government, but which is also strongly influenced by Iran. Tehran relies on these militias to literally have a state within a state in Iraq, Ben Taleblu said. Sandwiching these and other Iran-backed terror groups between Treasury Department, specially designated nationals, and blocked persons, SDN listings and State Department, Foreign Terrorist Organizations FTO listings, as the Trump administration previously did with their patron, the IRGC, in Term 1 is the right approach.